I'm going to go ahead with the meeting beginning ritual now. 起立，面向佛堂，参加先鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，参加各位的传习鞠躬，开班一鞠躬，请坐下。
Last time I showed this particular slide, and what I said in our last meeting was that the slide is going to show up again, and here it is. The last meeting, the previous meeting was the last meeting of 2014. Today's meeting is the first meeting of 2015. So I hope that you will see the reason why I wanted to bring it up with you again. So one question that I want to ask everyone to begin is that what do you think Chinese people do as far as celebrating the new year? Now, the reason why I ask is because there's the calendar New Year that we're all used to, but there's also Chinese New Year that you probably know about, or at least have heard about. So the Chinese themselves, what do they celebrate? What do you think? Do they celebrate the New Year, you know, like we do with the Times Square ball drop, with the New Year resolution and stuff like that? Or do they celebrate Chinese New Year, which in our case is not going to happen for another couple of months, and that is because the Chinese New Year is all based on the lunar calendar. The lunar calendar follows the phase of the moon, where the first of the month is always new moon, and the 15th of a month is always full moon. So what do you think? What do the Chinese people do? Okay, hopefully you had some time to puzzle over it. And so the answer is that Chinese people nowadays celebrate both New Year, like we do on the other side of the Pacific, and also Chinese New Year. They do both. So there's no either or. And remember, in the Tao, it is often not either or. If someone were to ask you a question about A or B, X or Y, you always want to think about the possibilities where it can be both or neither, or some combination of the two. So in our case, the Chinese celebrate both, and what I did previously was that I went through the characters with you one by one. Here in gray, you'll see the pronunciation. 新年新希望. Now this is not exactly the romanization. This is the way that I've written it out to make it simple for English-speaking people to sound it out in a way that's as close to the original Chinese as possible. And the character, as I mentioned previously, that one means new, and is repeated here. So that's year. So these two together, that's new year, that's new again. Xīwàng means a hope, a wish. So, 新希望, a new hope. Now, as you will see later on, this expression is used by the Chinese in place of New Year resolution. So, when we talk about resolution, we're usually talking about a resolve. You know, I resolve to do X, Y, Z. I resolve to do something about my life. Now, what the Chinese do is that they also make resolutions, but they frame it as a hope or as a wish. It's kind of a combination of all of the above. It's a hope, it's a wish, it's a resolution. It's something that they hope to accomplish. It is something that they are resolved to accomplish. So a lot more about that later on. So with this expression, which is extremely common in all Chinese-speaking media outlets, including television, newspaper, magazines, any periodicals, you know, news, whether on the internet or on television. This phrase is all over the place this time of the year. And that brings me to a point that I want to raise with you, and that is that correct? Is that in accordance with the Tao? how congruent to the Tao is that to have resolutions and goals? There are two schools of thought in regards to that, and I want to bring that into some kind of a discussion. Now, I know that some of you have heard me talk about this quite a few times before. I think it may be a useful reminder. And then I know there's also going to be a lot of you who have never heard this idea at all, that there is a difference between East and West. So when I say a difference, I mean that there's a distinct difference between the westernized, Americanized form of the Tao practice and the original Eastern teachings of the Tao. In the Americanized version, which, by the way, is far more popular, even though it is not exactly authentic, it is extremely popular because it speaks to what people want to hear. And one of the tenets in that particular brand, in that particular offshoot of the Tao, is the idea that there are no goals in the Tao. This began with a translation of chapter 22, as you can see in my first bullet there, that says, the translation says, because he, the master, has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. Now, the only problem is that this is actually not a translation. This is an expression of the author's own idea about what the Tao ought to be. The original does not say that. In chapter 22, or in any other chapter of the Tao Te Ching, it doesn't say, it never says anything even remotely close to that the Tao practitioner or the Tao sage, the master, has no goals. It never says that. If anything, it says the opposite. Now, this was more or less an expression of like the hippie mindset in the 60s, which is to, hey, relax and chill out and go with the flow and all that good stuff. It's just not the Tao. It's an Americanized form of the Tao. It's become extremely popular, though. So later on, based on the above translation, many spiritual teachers, Osho is a guru from India. He taught spirituality in America, in the West, for many years. And he attained a measure of popularity as well. He taught meditation as well as spirituality. He ranged all over the place, from Hindu forms of spirituality to Buddhist teachings to Taoist teachings. And when it came to the Tao, I have quoted him exactly, as you can see here. And the sections that are highlighted in red all talk about the Tao. He's very emphatic here. Tao means the way with no goal. And he also praised Lao Tzu, that it was courageous of him to tell people that there is no goal, except that Lao Tzu never actually said that, nor did he say anything even close to it. If anything, he said the opposite of that. Now, he went on, waxed poetic about that, and then he framed this hypothetical question that people did not ask. So hey, if there aren't any goals in your philosophy, why'd you choose the name Tao? So this is erroneous in many ways. Lao Tzu did not choose the name Tao. The name Tao was in existence in Chinese culture for more than 2,000 years before Lao Tzu was born. So he did not call it that. He was simply using a term that was already in the culture for many centuries. And then he made up an answer of Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu also, of course, did not say this. Specifically for that reason, I have chosen to call it the way, so that nobody forgets that there's no goal, there's only the way. No, actually, Lao Tzu never said anything like that. All of this is completely made up. However, I can imagine that when people hear it from one source and then hear it from another source, they feel like they have access to an authentic teaching. They don't really know that one particular source merely copies and expands on another, and the other source, neither one of the sources has any access to the original teachings or any understanding of Chinese, and that's what's causing the problem. Now, those of you who have friends who are Chinese, know people who are of Chinese descent, you'll notice one thing about them, and that is they never act as if they have no goals. In fact, they are the exact opposite. Now, this is not a situation where, oh, you know, people are different and different people behave in different ways, different people believe different things. If you look among the people who are of Chinese descent that you know, you notice that the vast majority of them are very hardworking, very diligent, and certainly very goal-oriented. They don't feel burdened by the goal, by having goals. So how can it be the actuality of the Chinese people themselves in this philosophy that supposedly is the opposite of that? So it is because the Americanized form of the Tao practice has been distorted beyond recognition. It really isn't the original Tao anymore. It is very popular because it's what people want to hear. So here's an example from a blog post. This is one of the most popular blog posts on the internet on this particular topic. And it also says Taoism has no goals. As you can see, I've outlined it down below. So this particular blog post has received a lot of praise. A lot of people cite this blog post. A lot of people praise this. So I already know, coming into the study of the Tao, that this is the way things are in America and perhaps in Europe as well. Although my observation is that nowhere is it quite as bad as in America, that we have this distorted westernized version of the Tao. I also knew that if I were to proceed along the same path, I could gain far greater popularity because I would be telling people what they want to hear. Now, you can probably imagine that I would never do that. I can never do that. That would be opposed to my conscience, opposed to what I know things, the way things really are. So instead, I've taken the opposite approach and to talk about, well, here's the authentic Tao, here's what the Chinese people actually believe from the original source. If you want the Americanized version, there's plenty of sources where you can get that information. There's also, I want to offer the alternative so that if you want something that's closer to the origin, closer to the source, you can have that. I can guarantee to provide that with what I give to the world, what I share with the world. And I began studying the Tao maybe 17, 18 years ago, and there were other people studying the Tao along with me, cultivating the Tao. Later on, I met more and more people on my path, and I noticed one thing. So starting from about, I would say maybe 15 years ago, I noticed a dramatic difference. That is, the people that I knew that believed, subscribed to the westernized Tao, they didn't get anywhere in life. Whereas other people who subscribed, believed in, were following the authentic form of the Tao, they made tremendous progress. So this was not just one person, not just a few people, but it was consistent. Everyone who followed the Americanized Tao got nowhere. Frankly, got nowhere in life. Now this is, mind you, I thought about this, I observed this 15 years ago. It is 15 years later now, I can guarantee that none of those people that love to talk about how the Tao was formless and you can do whatever you want, I can guarantee that they still are in the same position they were before in every conceivable way. On the other hand, the people that have decided to follow the authentic Tao, their lives are transformed. They are completely different. So the easy example that I can point to you would be Bill, because you guys hear from him every Sunday as well. So I'm going to share with everyone that Bill was very different when I first met him, but he followed the authentic Tao, and his life was completely transformed. He is in some ways, he is very advanced, and he has made these tremendous strides and progress. I can't even begin to tell you. And I really think that anyone else that decides to do the same thing, follow the authentic Tao, will receive the exact same results. So now, let me kind of summarize the difference between East and West. So up above, I have the westernized form of the Tao. The idea is that goals only stress you out and frustrate you. Therefore, it is better to follow Taoism, which has no goals. Okay, so that's an erroneous idea. Second, the pursuit of success is ultimately empty. Now, an actual Tao cultivator from Asia will say, well, it depends on what you define as success. If it is material success you're talking about, you could very well come to the end of that pursuit and find that your heart is still empty despite having material wealth. If, on the other hand, you define success as having successful relationships, as having spiritual success, then at the end of that achievement, when you have attained a level of success in those areas of life, it is not empty, not at all. Indeed, it is very fulfilling. And lastly, here's a popular idea: kill your to-do list before it kills you. There are people that really just hate the to-do list. Why? Well, because it's long, it's tedious, you got to remember to check them, constantly. If you are not checking them, then it becomes useless anyway. And if you don't do the things that are listed in your to-do list, you feel guilty. And if you fail in the things that you have listed for yourself, you feel like a failure. So it makes you feel awful. Therefore, do not have a to-do list. And this is actually the subject in multiple blog posts, which are, again, extremely popular on the internet. But they are all English-speaking blog posts. And so those are the ideas in the West. I've been exposed to that quite a few times, and so I know what people want. However, I believe in the opposite, and therefore, when I came out with the book, which was the sequel to The Tao of Daily Life, the publisher suggested the name The Tao of Success. I immediately jumped at it, despite knowing that it would cause the book to not sell. And that's what the book ended up being called, The Tao of Success. I like it because it is true to what the original Tao says. Success in every aspect of life. Emotionally, spiritually, materially, every aspect. It's true to that. But I was also right about the fact that this would not be popular. Now, I felt that The Tao of Success was a better book than its prequel, than its predecessor, The Tao of Daily Life. But even today, years later, after the publication of both books, The Tao of Daily Life outsells The Tao of Success 2-to-1. It continues to be much more popular because it doesn't touch the name of the book, The Tao of Success, does not get in the way, is not contradictory to the westernized form of the Tao. Now, The Tao of Success is true to the Eastern version, the Eastern concept of the Tao. That concept says the problem really isn't the pursuit of success. The problem really isn't the list. It's you. If you improve you, you're not going to have a problem with the pursuit. You're not going to have a problem with the list. If your to-do list is killing you, well, who created the to-do list for yourself? You did, Nobody else did but you. If you learn how to create a to-do list that serves you instead of a to-do list that is against you, that works against you, then you will have a much better time. That's the Eastern conception. And that explains why every Chinese person that you know is extremely diligent. You know, they don't shy away from to-do lists. They don't shy away from setting goals for themselves. So I did a quick search. I pulled up a whole bunch of books in the Chinese language. These are all books in Chinese. Obviously, you know, you can tell the title has has either no English or very little English in them. These books all have something in common. They all have these 4 characters in common. You see these 4 characters here, you see these 4 characters here, you see the same 4 characters here, 4 characters again over here, and 4 characters again over here, except this is in calligraphy. What are those 4 characters? Well, the first 2 characters together, 成功, means success. The character after that, that's an apostrophe S. If you reverse the order, you can translate it as of, O-F. The last character, well, that's the same character as what you see on the upper right-hand corner there. That's the character for the Tao. So all of these books from different authors, different publishers, they all have the same title. They're all Chinese books on the Tao of success. So this one is simply called that, 成功之道, the Tao of success. This one has some additional text, calligraphy. Here it says talking about the Buddha or talking about Buddhism. And then what it says here is what I have learned about success from Buddhist teachings in Chinese. So that's going to sound a little bit odd to the English-speaking person who studies spirituality. You know, isn't spirituality supposed to be diametrically opposite to success? Well, the Chinese people don't really think so. And over here, let me just highlight a couple more. We have courage, and then we have the Tao of success. So these books are in traditional Chinese as well as simplified Chinese. They are read in Taiwan as well as mainland China. This is pervasive throughout Chinese culture. So my intention is to talk about this because the reason is because I want to touch on New Year resolution. I want to share with everyone that it is very much okay for you as a Tao cultivator to also have your New Year resolution. Indeed, you want to set your New Year resolution in a way that is very skillful, that promotes growth for yourself. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun to do so that you can enjoy yourself as you further develop and improve yourself. That's what the Tao really is about. It's about the simple, easy way that you can enjoy the process as you go on the journey. So what are those ways that you can make it easy? Well, this is where I recap the summary from last time, which I hope that you guys, at least some of you, decided to follow. This is the summary slide from before. 3 points. Number 1, hey, live the Tao, don't just read about it, because the Tao is beyond words. That's Tao Te Ching, chapter 1. Number 2, take small, easy steps. This is the smart way to go about it. If you set up unrealistic goals for yourself, or tasks that you set up for yourself, but that you set them up, that you set yourself up to fail, then you are obviously going to end up hating the to-do list. You are obviously going to want to kill your to-do list before it kills you. But if you do it the Tao way, and this is from chapter 33 and chapter 34 of the Tao Te Ching, if you start simple, start with the easiest and smallest tasks, build up your momentum, and continue tackling ever larger challenges, develop your confidence, develop your capabilities, you are going to have a great time and you are going to accomplish great things. And no matter what it is you decide to do, it's always going to be a journey of 1,000 miles. And it's always going to be composed of individual steps on that journey. You're going to have to walk baby steps. And then lastly, point number 3 is to just get going now. And this is what I'd encourage you to take some time to plan it out today. So it's not too late if you set up a plan for yourself, not for the entire year of 2015 necessarily, but just take it a month at a time. Set up a plan for January. What are you going to accomplish in January? You know, can you track your own progress so that you do something about it every single day? Just get going. And the question that I asked last time is, well, why are we still talking about it? Talking involves words. The Tao is not limited by words, and you should not be limited by words. So here's what I'd like to have everyone do. I'd like to get everybody to look at the shape of these characters. What I have done is that I have looked at the Chinese language media in all different forms. You know, this covers like newspapers and periodicals, magazines, news reports, internet, video, television, all of the above. So I mentioned at the very beginning that this phrase is used all the time when New Year comes around. And I want to challenge everyone to take a look at the clippings, the screenshots that I have made, and be able to point to the place, even though it's all in Chinese, and it may be difficult. It may all seem like Greek, but it's Chinese. That you will be able to pick out this particular occurrence of the characters. The characters will be in a slightly different font, but it'll be the same. It'll look the same. To be helpful, I've moved this line above in the title section here so you can take a look and then hopefully be able to point out where it occurs in the clipping that I did. So here's the first one. This is a television, internet, video, news reporter venturing into Times Square. And this was just a few days ago when we had the the New Year's celebration, New Year's Eve at Times Square with the ball drop and everything. So there at Times Square, there are students from Taiwan. These are students, these are college students. A lot of them have completed Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts, in some cases high school, and then they come to the United States to further their education, usually in a graduate studies program. Perhaps they work on a degree that's an extension of what they have learned before, or they take on a whole new field. But there are many students like that. You go to any major U.S. university, you will see many students from overseas that are working away. And you already know, if you know people like that, you know that they are extremely diligent, like I mentioned before, every aspect of life. So, has anyone recognized the characters in that clipping? It's not very difficult, I hope. It's right down here. It matches these characters. And if you take a look at the rest of it, you will also see New Year over here. So here the reporter says, 告诉我新年希望. That is, tell me about your New Year resolution. Or, you can maybe translate it as, tell me what is your wish for the new year. And this is here, this is Chinese for New York, and this is Times Square, and this is New Year's Eve. And, people from Taiwan, they make New Year resolution. So that's what that is. This is a news clipping. This style is very, very Taiwanese. There's always a lot of text scrolling on the side and at the bottom. Okay, so If you guessed at the bottom, you are correct. There they are. Those are the characters. So that's sort of my quiz for you today. Let's do the next one. So the previous one was Taiwanese media. This one is mainland China media. So this is a news report. This is an anchor reporting on the news. So you can tell, you can recognize, universally all over the world, news anchors all look like this, except with different ethnicities, right? So he's also talking. This is the subject that he's talking about over here. So this is television that we're talking about. So if you take a look at the clipping, I hope you would also recognize where the text is. Anyone see it? Come on, Alex, you see it.
Oh. On top.
Right here. Hopefully everyone sees this. Okay, so this is saying, citizens of the city, New Year resolution or New Year, New Hope, kids healthy, that the children are healthy, that that business is prosperous. Business is doing better and better. So that's essentially what that says. And what I did was, this is all traditional Chinese, by the way. What I did was that I used the Chrome browser. It's got the ability to automatically convert the simplified Chinese used by mainland China into traditional Chinese used in Taiwan. So if you had guessed the top, that would be a very good guess. You will see it. And for extra credit, it's also hiding down here. 新年新希望. Like I said, this phrase is all over the place. So there's a couple more examples. Let's see another one. So here we go. This one, I've decided to just show it. This is basically an article that tells people about how to say 新年新希望 in English. So here, and what the text says is that, when, how do you celebrate New Year? You'll see 101 here. What that says, that's a reference to Taipei 101, which is a skyscraper, used to be the world's tallest before being overtaken by skyscrapers in Shanghai and also Dubai. But Taipei 101 used to be the world's tallest structure for quite a few years. And for New Year celebration, they always do fireworks. And the building itself has been designed with that in mind. And therefore, there are pylons on all different sides of the building where fireworks can be shot out into the air. So the whole building is transformed into this amazing blazing torch of, fireworks coming off of it. It's amazing, and the people in Taipei make it a point to, to see that show. That's what that is. You'll see characters here. 烟火, fireworks. This character is 秀 in Chinese. It means pretty. In Chinese, but it has been converted to express an English word, and that English word is SHOW, show, because the Chinese character happens to sound exactly like the English word show. It has been made into the Chinese word for the English word show. So 烟火秀, fireworks show. That's what it is. Anyhow, here it says we want to use English. We want to be able to use English to ask other people or ourselves. 你的, your, 新年新希望, New Year, New Hope, i.e. New Year resolution, 是什么 is what. Your New Year resolution is what in Chinese? Of course, in English, you have to change the sequence of the words a little bit. And then it says, this sentence English is, The English of the sentence is, what is your New Year's resolution? So this is an article designed to teach people a little bit about English. Then it goes on to explain these two characters, 希望, not exactly hope, not exactly wish, not exactly dream, and then the Chinese will dream, not exactly plan, the Chinese will plan, not exactly vision, the Chinese will that, not exactly expectations, but resolution. So that is what brings me to the point that I wanted to make today, and that is, it is very authentically Tao to make your New Year resolution. You just want to do it in a way that is skillful, so that you don't end up with the situation where January 1st, I'm going to lose weight, and January 2nd, you find yourself holding a cheeseburger in your hand. Okay, so that's not gonna work. That's only gonna make you hate resolution as much as you hate to-do lists. All right, so our timing's pretty good. We're gonna do this summary, and then we'll do the meeting ending ritual. So let's take a look at what the summary says. Let me move this out of the way a little bit. Point number 1, let go of the dogma. Yes, I said dogma. In the Western world, the dogma against success, goals, and resolutions that serve you. You don't need to be against them. You can make them serve you. So realize that there is absolutely nothing to fear. So why do people hate to-do lists? Well, why do people hate anything? A lot of times I find that hatred originates from fear. You hate that which you fear, and you fear that which you do not understand. So when you understand something, it is no longer something you need to fear, and if you don't fear it, you also stop hating it. So there's absolutely nothing to fear. There is a lot that we need to master. That's what the Tao is all about. I understand that you may have had negative experiences from the past. You know, maybe the to-do list that you had was full of items that never got any attention. Every time you looked at it, you felt badly about yourself. So the solution is not to kill the to-do list, but to recreate the to-do list in a way that works for you. Because what you did was not skillful. You can change it to something that is very skillful. And you can use the Tao Te Ching to help you increase your skills, increase your mastery of life. And the key was in the recap from the last meeting, the summary slide from last time. You know, rather than to start with a lot of ambition, tackle a difficult task, start easy, start simple, start small, do the things that you know you can do. Once you achieve that, move on to the next one, to the next easiest one, to the next smallest one. Before you know it, you will be accomplishing far more than you thought you were capable of. And I speak from personal experience. Last bullet, incorporate Tao Te Ching 32 into your thinking. And this is the paragraph that I would like to leave you with. Follow the Tao, let everything fall into place for you. Let good things come to you automatically, like the rivers of the world flowing into the ocean. So, Happy New Year, everybody.
Let's go ahead and do the meeting ending ritual, everybody. 起立，面向佛堂，持架3鞠躬，1鞠躬，再鞠躬，3鞠躬，持架规则是1鞠躬，接班1鞠躬。Okay, everybody, we are done.
Participate in the Tao meeting by joining us online. For information, go to Taoism.net/Tao